Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect. News and prophecy, linking the things happening worldwide to the Holy Scriptures so that the elect, the faithful remnant, can know and understand that the words of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, are faithful and true. All right, as we are chanting down Babylon the Great, along with its rulers headed by the biblical Edomites, all of the heathen nations joined unto them to build this new digital Tower of Babel, as well as 2/3 of our own people who are helping to build this digital stronghold of confusion and, ultimately a world ran by Satan. Our own people are aiding in building, the legacy of the so-called white man, while the elect, have awakened through the Holy Spirit, the great awakening prophesied in Ezekiel 37 chapter has taken place, where the true biblical Israelites, be a prophecy, the Lord raising up prophets in, the valley of dry bones, which represented the Israelites in a dead estate, detached from the understanding of who they were, would awaken. And in the valley of dry bones, Judah, which is the southern kingdom, and Ephraim, which is the northern kingdom, which is a split that took place after our King Solomon sinned, and the kingdom of Israel, which had been forwarded for 40 years, the throne of David, which was a government, ran in righteousness, we would be split, separated. You see, and from that point on, we have not had a united kingdom of Israel. We have not had a government. Now after the time of King Solomon's fall and we split, you did have certain kings sit on the throne of David. But of the, I believe, 18 to 19 kings that sat on the throne, and at one point, a wicked woman, all right, known as Queen Athaliah, who was a complete demon, all right, one of the daughters of Judah, she sat on the throne and tried to put all of the men to death, but some Levites came together and got her up out of there. But of that number, only 6 or 7 of the kings of Judah did what was right, with Josiah being the last. But I say all that to say this, from that point on, there has not been a united government of Israel. From that point on, the Israelites, especially after 70 AD, have not been in their land. You see that? And, there is a promise of them returning to that land and establishing a government. However, that would be under who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Let's get the book of Isaiah, the 9th chapter, in the 5th verse, because pretty much right now you have this group of people operating in complete pride, bombing people to smithereens. Okay, and when you deal with what this all represents, we're going to get into a few things in this lesson. When you deal with this so-called state of Israel, which there is no prophecy of a state of Israel being established, but the whole world supports this. All right, especially you Americans, which a few of you are starting to wake up. But in the grand scheme of things, this world, and especially you Israelites, you have nothing to say about this. You cower away from this. A lot of you Israelites who've been scoffing, even a lot of these individuals who, if you go to the Elder Menata Zakbas page, GMS South Carolina 08, he's been spotlighting a lot of incredulity of late. Okay, the Spirit's on him to show the mindset of particular of our people who have everything to say against the Israelites. One dude said the Israelites right here, the Israelite doctrine made him sick during the pandemic. You You got, Jake just all over the place, and even certain Edomites. Okay. But in the grand scheme of things, when you go into it, there is a big, push against the Israelites. Everybody wants to talk about the Israelites. Now, my thing is this: even you individuals who used to be a part of GMS, now you're talking about the heathen can be saved. You have to love Esau in order to get into the kingdom of heaven. If all of your videos against the Israelites, because we're claiming we're the Israelites, you even had this one guy say that there's no proof. We have no proof. We don't have enough to stand on to claim that we're the Israelites. Meanwhile, you have a group of people, okay, in a region of the Holy Land, waging war against another nation of people based upon their racial superiority, based upon them, the Palestinians being Amalekites, which is a biblical nationality, which is a descendant of Esau. The Amalekites, which these are the Amalekites, but they have an ongoing doctrine that the Arabs are the Edomites, the Arabs are the Amalekites. And based upon that, the talking point, they are justifying waging war on them because there's a scripture in the Bible that states that you should make war against Amalek and get them out of the land. And there is little to no resistance to that. And they're basing that upon the, the belief that they are heirs to the promise of that land. They deserve that land. And they're hiding it under, using the Bible, but really it's a part of what is known as the Greater Israel Plan, which Donald Trump is in support of. Historically, America, the EU and NATO has aided, Israel, or should I say the EU and NATO has aided Israel in plundering and war crimes throughout the earth. And this is nothing different, which you have going on over there. Now, we know prophetically in Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, in the 5th verse, it tells you that complete heathen, all right, namely the children of Esau. Let's get that. Now, let's read this first. Because the next government ran by the children of Israel, and that will be sovereign, is going to come under Yahushai. Okay, Isaiah 9:6, for unto us a child is born, and this child was always prophesied to come, and he will restore the sons of Edom. He will restore the Israelites. And he came. And he was a sacrifice. He grew up to be a sacrifice to bring that holy seed back and to deliver them from the bondage of the first covenant, so that they can be heirs to the promise given unto Abraham of a particular land, which that grants us access back to the garden eastward in Eden. And out of that region of the earth, starting at Jerusalem, will the Israelites, under Yahushua, establish a government on earth that will be subject to righteousness. The law, statutes, and commandments are going to be the final word, which you don't see that happening now. You don't see godliness flourishing. What you see is Satanism flourishing. What you see is confusion, war, crimes, okay? Oppression, digital oppression, monetary oppression, debt oppression, weaponized, media, weaponized music, weaponized entertainment, okay? Weaponized words, weaponized foods. So this couldn't be the government prophesied to come where the children of Israel will rule. What the hell is this? Where you see now breaking news, Netanyahu says Israel is establishing a new military corridor across Gaza, the second Philadelphia, which Philadelphia means brotherly love. Okay, but they do things on the left-hand side. It says declaring that it is now dividing the strip. So they're continuing this war waged on those Palestinians, which again, let's prove to you that they look at them as Amalekites. Okay, real quick, but let's finish this. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, which he is a father. Okay, the Prince of Peace. Now, a prince is what? The son of a king. So how can he be the father and the son? No, father in the ancient Hebrew really speaks to you being great at something, the father of something. And he's the father of righteousness. He's the king of righteousness. The Prince of Peace. Okay? Solomon for 40 years, which Solomon means peace. For 40 years, you had peace under the throne of David. And Yahweh Shai is going to bring it perpetually. Of the increase of his government, there shall be no end upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even forever. The zeal of Yahweh will perform this. And it's going to be performed. But, okay, again, if this is true, that the government that's going to be established is going to be under Yahweh Shai, the Prince of Peace, and it will be associated with the throne of David. What is this? You see that flag? And how did they get all this protection? Why are you Israelites and you people who have everything to say about us so silent on this? Now let's get Ezekiel, the 36th chapter. So we've got a few things we want to get into. Ezekiel 36:5. Therefore, thus said the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. Okay, over there right now you have the children of Ishmael, some Elam over there, and against Idumea, right? Against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea, which the Idumea is Edom. The Amalekites are Edom. Okay, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their hearts, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. The scriptures tell you in Luke, the 21st chapter, that Jerusalem would be trodden down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles would be ended. And now we're at their end. Okay, and the children of Idumea have been waging war against the children of Ishmael, which they were already there, which the land doesn't belong to any of them. But if we want to call a spade, they were already there. And through a plan of this guy, I believe is Ben Gurion, an atheist, there's this plan to establish this state of Israel. And again, they're warring back and forth, which when the children of the Lord got into that land, there wouldn't be any war. The scriptures tell you that the nations would no longer learn war once we got into that land. That's in the book of Micah, the 4th chapter, and also Isaiah, the 1st chapter. The purpose of that government of Israel being set up in the Holy Land is that the earth be turned back into paradise, that all nations, every knee bows to the name of Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and that righteousness, flourishes through the earth through what? The order of the Heavenly Father taking place on earth, which is going to take place of a government, okay, of Israelites who are not subject to death, who have what? New bodies. The scriptures say we're going to see him as he is. We're going to be like him. We're going to be in those bodies. Did not Yahweh Shai said, bring them with me where I am, so they can behold your glory as I have beheld it? You see, we're going to return to those immortal bodies and come to the earth and rule. And that subject wouldn't have that dominion, the kingdom of heaven. There wouldn't be any purpose for war. Okay? The heathen would just be in subject to us. And even in that, they'll be better off than they are here under Esau's rule. Anyway, Let's play this real quick.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our holy.
And I'm going to constantly play this. Netanyahu faces backlash for evoking biblical Amalek amid heavy civilian casualties in Gaza. So they are calling those Palestinians Amalekites. You see that? And you people don't have anything to say about this. You have everything to say about us, but when it comes to this, nobody speaking on it.
You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible. And we do remember, and we are fighting our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes.
And Joshua goes back to when Joshua and Caleb, all right, with the help of the angel, was waging war on the heathen to get them out of that land. So he's justifying the war that he's waged against the Palestinians. Okay, he's justifying that war via the Bible. Do you all see that? And I play this all the time, but I just wanted to show you that before we got into this video. Because again, guys like Vocab Malone, let's see if I can pull it up. Guys like Vocab Malone are of the opinion that the Edomites have been done away with.
Remaining in the house of Esau. What he's doing, he's prophesying. He's reading the future prophecy. No, that's a future prophecy. That's a future prophecy.
Now they're talking about the prophecy in the book of Obadiah of the biblical Edomites being exterminated as a nation. All right, and again, this is what a lot of Christians think, is that, they were done away with, or, okay, the prophecy of Obadiah has already been fulfilled. But at the same time, they'll say Edomites can be saved. Now, if they were already done away with because the Lord hated them, according to the scriptures, then why are you trying to save them? Also, they'll try to push the Edomites off to Ishmael. I just wanted to show you this real quick before I get into a few of these things. Show you what we're dealing with here. Okay? Because, again, these people are able to bomb people based upon the fact that they're Amalekites or Edomites. Meanwhile, we're being called hateful for saying that a group of people are the biblical Edomites. And then at the same time, y'all are saying that the Edomites are done away with. So why don't you have a problem with Netanyahu's doctrine or stance? You're coming to us with all of these cameras and videos and questioning us about Obadiah and questioning us and saying that we're hateful and wrong, yet you all are silent when it comes to these people.
Get Malachi 1. Produce me a Malachi 1. That says the Edomites are exterminated. Malachi 1.
And he is still not yet to present the history saying that the Edomites were done away with.
How would that even be a thing? Well,
see, he says Obadiah verse 18 has already been fulfilled. And go read it for yourself. Then,
all right, so look what Vocab says. This is a post that he had made, or not a post, or it's a message he had left on Facebook, and I had saved it. It says, I do not care to invest in responding to this dude on a trolling spree. It says, but let me clarify one thing. It is true, Edomites as a distinct people group, that's the new word that these Christians are using now when it comes to Esau, as a distinct people group are no longer around. However, it is also true much of their line was assimilated into the Arabs who took over the area. It is also possible.
You see that? He said that the people over there are Edomites or Amalekites. See that? He's saying, well, the Edomites were done away with, but their seed, mingled into the Arabs. So the Arabs are the Edomites. Let's go back.
As a distinct people group, that's the new word that these Christians are using now when it comes to Esau. As a distinct people group are no longer around. However, It is also true much of their line was assimilated into the Arabs who took over the area. It is also probably true some of the line was assimilated into some of the Judeans who conquered the area prior to the New Testament era. Either way, it's a distinct Semitic people group becoming enveloped by two other distinct Semitic people groups.
And that can't happen. You can't outpopulate a nation. You can't mingle your seed. No, the seed of the seed that issues forth from that man, according to his nation, is brought back. Okay, he's producing one after his kind. See that? The Edomites are still here, and according to biblical prophecy, they will be ruling in the latter days.
Europeans had literally nothing to do with it. So once again, he's trying to get the Europeans out, get them away from the title of Edom. All right, and he just said that the Edomites turned into the Arabs. Their line was assimilated into the Arabs and into the Judeans. So basically, the Edomites are still here. They're just not calling themselves Edom anymore. They're just the Arabs and the Judeans. I mean, this is the new doctrine of the confused council of Christians.
He even mocks the Muslims, the Palestinians, by acting as one in a skit, holding a bomb to blow himself up with TNT strapped around him.
Host, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon me. And with me now are two members of the group known as the Israelite School of Torah. We have with us here today.
Now, while we condemn the religion of Islam, we're letting you know that those, Ishmaelites, those Arabs are not heirs to the promise of that land. This is wicked, man. This is wicked because here it is, y'all are condemning us and calling us hateful. But meanwhile, these people are being bombed to smithereens. You're doing skits, acting like one of them bombing themselves, man. If we did this, and when we do stuff like this, and we call out, and mock these heathen gods, which there is an aspect of mocking these heathen gods, but come on, man. You're going to dress up in a costume? You got a fake beard on? This is a big, gigantic child. Meanwhile, nobody says nothing. So do Palestinian lives matter?
Supreme Chief Keef, High Priest in Charge, Abba Baba Yabadabadu Ban Yasharallah, who is the leader of the group, and is second in command, General One West. Salam. Shalom. Assalamu
These
alaikum.
niggas actually went and got costumes. But I just wanted to show you all that, to show this, because look what these devils are doing. We're going to get into a few things because it's not looking good for these Edomites. Okay, the citizens of Israel are roused up. They want this man out. They want him arrested for war crimes. And pretty much they're moving in a very, very wicked manner, okay, to fulfill their plan of a greater Israel, man, which that's what it was all about the whole time. It was never about them defending themselves against October the 7th. It's all about forwarding British colonization and the seizing of land, man, what they've been doing. And we're going to show you. But as you can see here, let's play it.
ברצועת עזה העברנו הילוך. צה"ל תופס שטחים, מכה במחבלים, הורס את התשתיות.
This is nothing but war. This is nothing but war, but we're increasing the pressure step by step so that they will give us our hostages. So they keep bringing up these hostages, but synonymously, they're bombing. Now, this is supposed to be the children of God. This is supposed to be the biblical Jews, the Israelites. And what you're going to find out is that about 80% of them don't even believe in the Messiah over there. This has nothing to do with the throne of David. This is a secular Zionist state of Israel that has nothing to do with the Holy Scriptures. Yet no one is talking about it. Yet no one is condemning this. No one is saying that this is wrong. Now, we're going to show you because, as the Scriptures say, Esau wouldn't be able to hide himself in the latter days. The wicked will be revealed. Let's get the book of Jeremiah 49:10. It says, "But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. And the earth is rising up against this guy." His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. What does the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, say? Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine his philosophies. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And that's what he's doing, man. Okay, he's not at home. He's going around the earth, pillaging, raping, robbing, and murdering. Okay, his eyes stand out with fatness. He covets lands. Dude, he's never stopped, and he ain't gonna stop. But somehow he's the standard of peace, and we're the standard of war and hate, and we need to be stopped. The Israelites, which you do got some crazy ass Israelites out there, but what threat are they on the level that these people are? Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth in that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, that debt. Okay, and these are the people who run those banks. It says, because he has spoiled many nations, see, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, and of the city, and all that dwell therein. And what's happening over here in, all right, Palestine, which those aren't the true Palestinians. The word Palestine goes back to Philistine, which means a stranger. They were strangers in that land. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can look it up to know for sure. What does the word Philistine mean? Yeah, invaders. That's what it means. Invaders. Yeah, invade. Yeah, there you go. To have migrated in, meaning they don't really belong in that land. And the Philistines, who had power in that land, you know, were there again as invaders. The land didn't belong to them, and those were Hamites, the original. All right, Philistines or Palestinians. Palestine and Philistine means the same thing. So those aren't even the true Philistines or Palestinians. But what he's doing to them is absolutely wicked. And we're living in a time where if you can't see who the devil is, then something's wrong with you. Now I want to play a few things. Let's play this off of this channel. Abigail Lucy Mary. At last, ICJ declared Israel an illegal state and fake people. They are not the real Jews, finally. So this is becoming the talking point, all right, on many platforms. This is why they're getting ready to pass particular laws centered around anti-Sim talking points, and they're going to come down hard this time.
A lot of us Africans who do not want to listen when they tell you those people who are there are not Israelites. You don't want to hear. Now, are you going to understand now that ICJ had declared those people illegal? We'll be saying it here. Those people are illegal. They are not original to that land. It's not their land. That land is...
It's not their land. Okay, those people come from the area of Poland, Germany, and they migrated to that land to make a home for the Edomites, the Amalekites, because that's who these people are. And they got it not by anything biblical. Okay, they didn't turn to the east. They didn't establish a government based on righteousness. They did it based upon what is known as a Balfour Declaration, which we're going to show you that they even admit. All right, the Red Shield people themselves admit that they are behind establishing that Zionist state of Israel. It has nothing to do with what the Bible prophesies as far as the children of Israel returning to that land. It's nothing, all right, but a facade. And again, people are silent about it. But now we're living in a time where, as the scriptures say, in Job 20 and 27, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, the earth shall rise up against him. See, the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. And this devil is getting ready to lose everything, but the heaven shall reveal his iniquity. The earth shall rise up against him. And this is where we are. Let's read this in the NLT. It says, the heaven will reveal their guilt. See, and even stuff like Chat GPT, which was put together by an Amalekite, right? It's telling on them. Okay? The heavens reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against him. So the earth is testifying against this man. This is why they're keeping you distracted with all of these various distractions so that you can never turn the eye on them. They keep boogeymen in your face. They keep the all kind of madness in your face to keep you distracted. But really what's happening around the earth is that the wicked is being revealed, and everything we've been saying is being made manifest to be true.
It's for other people. They are just, most of you will say, the God of Israel will fight the battle. You'll be praying for Israel, hitting your head. Now they've told you that those people are illegal. Let's listen to some of this information and then take it up from there.
This is a watershed moment for Palestine, for justice and for international law. Israel's occupation has been declared unlawful.
Israel's occupation of that land has been declared unlawful. And this is the International Court of Justice. Okay, but we know who really runs things. So pretty much war probably breaks out. Okay, or some type of false flag, or something is getting ready to happen. Okay, in the earth, something's getting ready to happen. It says it was declared an illegal state by the International Court of Justice. It was also decided that it should not be recognized as a sovereign nation, okay, worldwide. In the end, justice prevailed, all right? And this is some Islamic cat. And we don't agree with the religion of Islam. We're just calling a spade a spade.
By the World Court, which has stipulated that it must be terminated completely and as rapidly as possible. The court also found that illegal Israeli occupation violates the UN Charter, human rights, and international humanitarian law. The court further unequivocally declared that all Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory are illegal and must be dismantled, and that all Israeli settlers must be evacuated. The court declared that Israeli illegal occupation not only violates but eviscerates the Palestinian people's right to self-determination in their own land, including the right to their own state. This ruling couldn't be more timely or sorely needed. The Palestinian people have endured unbearable suffering and injustice for decades. This ruling is a vindication of their steadfast.
And remember, this was a forwarding of British colonization. That's what the state of Israel was. They're the least of the flock. Okay? We'll get to that.
And perseverance. This right must no longer be denied or deferred. The court made clear that the Palestinian people are the only sovereign in the occupied Palestinian territory.
And they're not sovereign. The next sovereign government that's going to be set up in that land is going to be under the true Israelites. And that's just a portion of the promised land associated with the territory given to Judah. But you got to understand, 12 tribes are going to part in that land. All 12 tribes are going to return to that land, and starting at Jerusalem, okay, we're going to inherit our portion. And from that point, the government is going to be set up, and we go throughout the four corners of the earth, establishing righteousness, fixing the earth, okay, through the law, statutes, and commandments, man. And the heathen will have to be subject to that. But as you can see, the earth is crying out against this man. because this is a right in the front, in the face of a so-called Christian nation. This is happening, and there is no large cry against it. All of these people with Bibles in their hands coming up against the Israelites, but there's no cry against a group of people who's literally bombing, raping, robbing, and murdering under the guise of being God's people, and that land belongs to them. This is the same thing that guy Matt Walsh, when he talked about the Native Americans. Okay, the basically being subhuman, and you know they were there but they weren't doing anything. They were there but they're primitive. They're less of a human being. So through ethnic cleansing and racial superiority, we have the right to destroy you out of this land. Because look what you're doing anyway. Look at your religion. Look at your God. Look at you. You're and this is what they've been doing.
Including East Jerusalem, and that the international community is under an obligation, not just to reaffirm the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, but to see to it that this right is implemented immediately. All states and the UN are now under obligation not to recognize the legality of Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory.
We have failed you. This is the awful guilt we carry. We tried, but we did not try hard enough. And we'll go to Rafah, many of us, reporters, who will stand outside the border with Gaza and protest.
Yeah, it ain't that ain't gonna bring back all of the close to hundreds of thousands of people who've been just slaughtered, man. But if you want to go back to when y'all first started warring with them, millions of people. Now, let's watch this video to show you how this state was created and what this is all a part of. This is the brother Yashalam, GMS Watchman, subscribe and be edified. Jacob Rothschild's or Red Shield admits creation of Israeli state. And the video is 1044.
It's 67 words long, it's 100 years old, and it changed the course of history for the Middle East and the Jewish people. The Balfour Declaration, the expression of the British government's support for a Jewish home in Palestine, was sent by British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to the second Lord Rothschild. I'm here in Buckinghamshire at Waddesdon Manor to speak with the fourth Lord Rothschild about the Balfour Declaration, what it means for Britain, for the Jewish people, and the Rothschild family.
The Foreign Office, November the 2nd, 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet.
So it's possibly the most famous letter in modern Jewish history, and it begins with 3 words. Dear Lord Rothschild. Why was it that this letter was sent by the Foreign Secretary to your great-uncle Walter?
It's an interesting question because he was really interested in ornithology, although he became interested in Zionism. I think
This is Judah, right? This is the real Jews.
The reason was this, that it was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe, but they didn't clarify who was in charge of that movement. And in addition, it was, after all, in Great Britain. So they felt that the Rothschild family should be the one to whom it was addressed. And Walter was Lord Rothschild, and he was a Zionist. And those really are the background reasons.
So Walter received the Balfour Declaration, and I have a copy here. And I wonder if I could possibly ask you to read it for us.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. I'm going to put on my spectacles to make sure I read it accurately. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment of Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. Or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours, Arthur Balfour.
And here it is, the Balfour Declaration. What do you feel when you see it here?
I genuinely feel it's one of the most extraordinary moments in the history of the Jewish people. If you think it took 3,000 years to get to this. And then you say, how did this miracle happen? I said,
the 3,000 years, they're talking about going back to Joshua. You know, when they were supposed to get the land, you know?
It's incredible piece of opportunism. I mean, if you think you had an impoverished would-be scientist, Chaim Weizmann, who somehow gets to England, meets a few people, including members of my family, seduces them. He has such great charm and conviction. He gets to Balfour, and he unbelievably persuades Balfour and Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, and most of the ministers, that this idea of the national home for Jews should be allowed to take place. I mean, it's so unlikely. And then he's, starts to fight a difficult battle with the British cabinet, and this letter goes through 5 drafts, as you know. And in the end, it comes out as a rather compromising letter. I mean, the essential point is there for the Jewish community to fasten on to. You have the first bit, which promises a national home rather than the national home. And then you have the bit that nothing that's to be done should in any way harm the Arab community. But you come back to the big point, which is that this is perhaps the greatest event in Jewish life for thousands of years. And it's a miracle that it took place.
And they're not bringing out the scriptures. They're just talking again. they're boasting of their own belly, man. Okay. They're telling you right there that
and of course, the Rothschild
this.
family then as now filled 2 roles, because it wasn't just a leader of diaspora Jewry. It also played a very significant role in the early years of the establishment of the pioneer communities in Israel as well.
Yep, it's a good book, because you have a divide amongst Esau, Edom, the American Christians called the small hats Esau, and that they're the children of Jacob, and then vice versa. These devils are something else, man.
There were 2 branches of the Rothschild family primarily concerned. One in France through Baron Edmond Rothschild, who was the one who responded.
So you can watch the rest of that video, but in this video, he's admitting that they created this. Okay, so this fulfills what we just read in Ezekiel 36th chapter. Because nowhere in Scripture does it says the children of Israel is going to get that land based upon a Balfour Declaration. And from that point on, they've been on a war path. All right, justifying bombing, using propaganda, using the American media to justify slaughtering these people. Let's listen to some of this video here. Okay, off of Natural News, the Health Ranger report, his Brightian account. As you can see the title here, Europe will fall, then Israel, and the U.S. empire as the dollar defaults. And these devils are watching us. Look at his intro. I'm going to just rewind it for a minute so you can see his intro. Now, who does this remind you of? Oh, man. That's funny. They're watching our videos, man. They're watching. Let's listen, though.
Probably end up getting nuked. At least their military bases would get nuked, and maybe capital cities like Paris and London and Berlin, who knows? But definitely military bases will probably end up getting nuked if they keep pushing this. You think Russia's just going to sit there and say, yeah, do whatever you want. We'll hold our fire. No, if the UK starts recruiting soldiers, I mean, look, the EU leadership has said they're going to confiscate $10 trillion of people's savings in banks across Europe. They're going to take that money and use it to build a war machine. And then I guess they're going to recruit millions of young Brits. Well, guess what? Russia's going to bomb, the barracks like they did in Ukraine. Russia's going to bomb the factories in the UK. Russia's going to bomb the railroads that transport.
And this is what's going to happen. As we've showed you, the way that Israel is moving and operating is going to draw America to war with Russia and Iran. Okay, and that leads to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, where through the leadership of Russia, Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, Turkey, okay, are going to wage war against the state of Israel, and America is going to be drawn into that war. And this is what you see happening, all right, throughout the four corners of the earth. Okay, Russia warns of catastrophic consequences after U.S. strikes Iranian nuclear sites. Because, okay, there's talk of war, okay, and they're going to go to war, all right, with Russia and Iran. Okay, that's prophetic. Okay, and I typed this in. Okay, because when you deal with what those small hats are doing, it's centered around what is known as the Greater Israel Project. As a matter of fact, we'll show you how Trump is, what he's doing is all for that.
This is a real wake-up call to the whole world. The dream of Greater Israel is within touching distance. Trump described Gaza as...
Gaza is a hellhole right now. It's all death in Gaza. Nothing but death and destruction.
While the man responsible for these war crimes and wanted on an arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court was sitting 3 feet away, grinning. Trump said he would transfer 1.8 million Palestinians. I'm not sure how he comes to that figure. There are 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza. What happens to the rest? Are they all killed?
We're talking about probably 1.7 million people, 1.7 million, maybe 1.8 million. But I think all of them, I think they'll be resettled.
This is ethnic cleansing by presidential.
Yeah, they're gonna kick those Palestinians out of the land and resettle them. This is the same devil that has always been. Okay, he ain't stopping. He's showing you who he is. Meanwhile, you niggas are scared to talk about it, and you got everything to say about us, but somehow this ain't worthy of mentioning. If your gripe is that we calling ourselves the Israelites is dangerous, how much more people with a military who gets billions in aid, who your tax dollars go towards, who have the ability to strike hospitals, nuclear plants, energy plants, innocent people, based upon the fact that they have to find some hostages. They're gonna get you to go kill the hostages.
Decree.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it.
And turn it into
the Riviera of the Middle East. Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, the best weather. Some beautiful things could be done with it.
This announcement doesn't come totally out of the blue. Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, has mused that Gaza would make absolutely superb Mediterranean beachfront property.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable from Israel's perspective. I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. If I was Israel right now,
move them out and clean it up.
I would just bulldoze something in the Negev. I would try to move people in there. I know that won't be the popular thing to do, but I think that that's a better option to do so you can go in and finish the job.
Well, we all know that Trump is being bankrolled by Zionist billionaires. We also know...
Oh, yeah. The small hat lobbyists bought out the presidency. That's who really controls the vote, the lobbyist. All right, not you taking your Taco Bell filled ass to the voting poll. You know, with a Kamala hat on or a Trump hat on. Okay, this is all controlled. And America is a corporation, and the presidents are the bankers. And the bankers are small hats. And this plan that's going on, okay, is all a part of what is called the Greater Israel Project. If you want to know what that is, somebody can put it in the comment section. What is the Greater Israel Project? And you can look in the comment or look it up yourself, but Trump is all for it. He's forwarding what was established in 1948. He's forwarding that. He's not against it. So it was never about making America great again. Israel is being made great again. Or the small hats are being made great again. That's what's happening.
Know that he's filled his cabinet with people who just simply parrot Israel's talking points. He's appointed an ambassador, Mike Huckabee, who believes that there's no such thing as a Palestinian.
There really is no such thing as, and I have to be careful saying this, because people will really get upset. There's really no such thing as a Palestinian.
He's appointed a defense secretary in Pete Hegseth, who says that a third temple should be built where the Al-Aqsa Mosque now is.
The declaration.
Yeah, they're talking about building a third temple. They're talking about getting the red heifer which they're having problems with trying to get the red heifer, which that's something that was required. That's something that goes back to the Old Testament. We're no longer offering sacrifices for sin, so the wicked are pretty much offering up the same unwanted sacrifice that Cain offered up. They can't do right. Okay? They can't do right.
Of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
For the national religious right, their dreams of greater Israel are within touching distance. Trump may dress this up as in sort of fake concern for the Palestinians.
I think they'll be resettled in areas where they can live a beautiful life and not be worried about dying every day.
Of course they deserve to live in a decent life, but they also deserve to live in their own homes, and they also deserve to live in their own land. Who can possibly think that this is now just a fight between Israel and Hamas or Israel and Gaza? This is Israel-America against the entire Palestinian people.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House.
I'm starting to understand why Benjamin Netanyahu accepted a ceasefire deal when there was so much opposition to it at home. For Netanyahu, the sight of Hamas in pristine Toyota Jeeps and new uniforms, evidently in control of Gaza, and releasing the hostages who were in good shape was deeply humiliating. And Netanyahu obviously did not want this to go on. He's now persuaded the American president to allow him to pull the plug on any further hostage release. What incentive has he given Hamas even to continue with the current state?
And you can watch that, all right? Double Down News, Trump shocking plan for greater Israel exposed. Check that out. All right, we're going to skip back here and listen to him.
The tanks eastward. I mean, Russia's not going to sit back and do nothing. They're just going to start bombing strategic targets all over Western Europe.
Right, and again, Israel is going to lead America to war. Now, what I've typed in here, okay, I typed in, how does Iran and Russia stand in the way of the Greater Israel Project? The idea of the Greater Israel Project is often associated with controversial and widely debated geopolitical theory. It suggests that Israel or some Zionist elements aim to expand the country's borders significantly beyond its current territory. Okay? Even after agreeing that this part belongs to you, this part belongs to us, they've never stopped. It says sometimes based on ancient biblical lands described in Genesis 15 and 18, saying, look, they used the Bible to justify these wars. Okay. However, it's important to note that this is not the official or openly declared Israeli policy. Many scholars consider it more of a symbolic or ideological idea rather than a concrete state agenda. Now, in the context of Russia and Iran, both nations have geopolitical interests that conflict with the nation, all right, with the Greater Israel Project. And here's why. Iran's position, ideological opposition. Iran's leadership, especially under the Islamic Republic, is staunchly anti-Zionist. It refuses to recognize Israel as a legitimate state and supports groups that oppose Israel. So Iran doesn't acknowledge Israel or respect them as the children of the Most High. Okay, at one point, Ahmadinejad, who was the president of Iran, he and it's known that Elamite, I forget his name, there was someone who said, how did the Jews leave dark skin and come back white? Okay, and Ahmadinejad called out America for its treatment of the Israelites over here in America. Okay, again, Iran and America coming into conflict, okay, ultimately is going to be centered around what Israel is doing. It says strategic debt. Iran is deeply embedded in Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon through alliances and proxies. This creates sort of a Shia crescent that blocks Israeli regional dominance. So there's all type of friction tied to Israel, which Israel can't defend itself by itself against Iran and Russia and these nations. So what's going to draw America in? Okay, this is what prophetically that we're seeing. Okay, Jeremiah 49 and 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he hath taken against Edom and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate. Okay, so the least of the flock, okay, the state of Israel, which pretty much they were the last, okay, which they're tied to, you know, the beast system, in a sense that pretty much it was through the British, as we just saw, the Red Shield people, that Zionist state was established. Okay, and it was forwarding land confiscation. It was forwarding conquering, the conquest, colonialism. It was just the forwarding of that. And now that they're trying to, you know, maintain their position, they're getting called out. You know, they're moving in a very uncouth manner. All right. And America is always going to come to their aid. So they're going to draw them out. And we're reading this real quick before we get back into a few of these videos before we close it out. Military threat. Iran's missile capabilities and potential for nuclear development are seen as counterbalances to Israeli military superiority. Israel frequently conducts airstrike in Syria, targeting Iranian infrastructure to push back against influence. So what if they accidentally with a quote bomb some of Iran's, you know, personnel over there? It can lead to a reaction. Russia's position. Regional balancer. Russia acts as a balancing force in the Middle East. While it has good relations with Israel, especially over Syria disconfliction mechanisms, its strategic partnership with Iran and Syria puts it at odds with the idea of unchecked Israeli expansion. There you go. The Greater Israel Project works against, all right, but it works for prophecy. Military presence in Syria. Russia's military bases and air power in Syria limits Israel's ability to operate freely in the region, especially when Russian forces are nearby or when coordination is tense. Okay. Russia supports Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, which is closely allied with Iran and Hezbollah. Okay. Key players resisting Israeli influence. Okay. Then I put this. Can you name reasons why Israel could lead America to war with Russia and Iran? This is a heavy and nuanced topic, so let's unpack it carefully. Okay, while there is no definite proof Israel intends to drag U.S. into a war with Russia or Iran, there are plausible scenarios where the U.S. involvement in such a war could stem from close alliance with Israel and overlapping strategic interests in the Middle East. Okay. U.S.-Israel Security Pact and political pressure. The U.S. and Israel have deep military and political alliance, including billions in annual military aid and shared intelligence. America supports Israel by the billions. If Israel were attacked by Iran, the U.S. might feel compelled to intervene directly. Israel has strong bipartisan support in Congress within key institutions. They have support of their president. They control your president. And if Israeli interests are perceived to be at a risk, U.S. policymakers might or will, might choose military action and support Israel, even if it risks escalation with Iran and Russia. Okay, the Syria situation. Okay. Israel regularly conducts airstrike in Syria, targeting Iranian and Hezbollah assets. Russian forces are present in Syria. A miscalculation or accidental strike on Russian personnel by Israel could spark retaliation. See that? Let's see. If Israel were to unilaterally attack Iranian nuclear sites, it could trigger a massive regional war. The use of military infrastructure. Israel cannot carry out a full-scale war with Iran without help. It may need to access U.S. air bases. It's going to draw America in. Okay? And you can see the rest of it. U.S. and Israel both view Iran as a major threat. Let's see here. Israel has strong influence in Western media and political lobbies. It can shape public perception of threats. There you go. Of course. If Iran or Russia is portrayed as directly threatening Israel or U.S. security, it becomes easier to justify war in the court of public opinion. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop, man. Let's listen to this.
And there's nothing that Western European countries can do to stop it. Not a thing. And NATO won't be there. NATO will cease to exist. The U.S. won't be there because the U.S. is going to be too busy fighting for Israel in the Middle East, fighting Iran, most likely, which is going to fully occupy America's military. And America will lose that war too, by the way. I mean, look, the West is going to lose all the wars. Russia is victorious versus Ukraine, and Iran will be victorious against the West. Have no illusions about this. And it's foolish suicide for the British leaders to think they can defeat Russia, or for America's leaders to think they can defeat Iran. You want to go to war with Persia? Yeah, that's been tried before. Yeah, it didn't work. And by the way, the crimes against humanity carried out by Israel are so gross.
And America is not as dominant as it once was, and many of its allies are going to be used to work against her. See?
Grotesque that the Israeli army is now recorded to have killed 1,400 medical staff in Gaza. And on top of that, 15 Palestinian humanitarian workers, civil defense teams, Red Crescent medics, and UNRWA employee were executed by the Israeli army during rescue operations. So at least 1,400 medical personnel. That is because Israel's bombing hospitals, killing hospital workers, killing doctors and surgeons on purpose, massacring medical staff on purpose. This is what Israel does. And then there's another story, let's see, and that's covered by thecradle.co. There's a story out of MiddleEastEye.net that says that the bodies of Gaza medics that were executed by Israel have been found handcuffed and shot in a mass grave. So 15 first responders were found, their bodies were found buried under crushed ambulances. Israeli officials executed them, put them in handcuffs and shot them in the head, because that's what Israel does. Actually, there were reportedly 20 gunshots in each body. So Israel opened up full magazines, just went to town, opening fire on these medics. Okay, this is what Trump supports. This is what Rubio supports. This is what the entire Trump administration supports: is the mass execution of hospital workers and first responders, buried in mass graves, shot in the head, in the heart, in the chest, multiple times by Israel. And then you're not allowed to criticize Israel. Okay, this is what we're facing now in the United States. And these workers were buried in a mass grave 2 to 3 meters deep to try to cover up the evidence of the crime. And this is what Israel does. Okay, this is what Israel does. This is what Zionism does. It is genocide is a crime against humanity, and we need to speak out against this. And we need to demand that the Trump administration cut all ties with Israel, cut diplomatic ties, stop sending weapons, stop sending money, ban AIPAC, and frankly, fire everybody from the administration that has dual citizenship with Israel. Because right now, America is being run by a Zionist authoritarian regime, and Trump is their puppet. That's the truth about what's happening right now. Because I'm not going to just choose between the left versus the right in terms of choosing what flavor of genocide that I support. No, because I don't support any flavor of genocide. I don't support mutilating babies on the left, and I don't support mass executions of hospital workers on the right. I'm not down for genocide in any context. I'm not down for killing children in any context. I'm going to speak out against this, obviously. And I hope you join me in speaking out against this, because they try to intimidate everybody into silence, which is exactly what the left did.
And there you go. You can watch the rest of this. You see the title, type it in. It will come up. It's on Brighton, all right, which is an alternative media platform, okay, that many people who left YouTube went to put their content up. Okay, Lord willing, this video stays up, but if not, it is what it is. Okay? At the end of the day, the whole world's talking about it. Okay? Let's go to this video here.
Well, I did a post the other day, or yesterday, on X, where I said that Zionism is white supremacy with a yarmulke on. And that it's nothing but Yiddish for Western colonization. So, of course, I got a bunch of replies trying to correct me, saying that it isn't white supremacy, it's Jewish supremacy. See, this is them activating the built-in blame-shifting mechanism, which is the whole point. You're literally pointing to the yarmulke as the reason for all this, the reason for the occupation, the reason for the genocide. And I'm telling you that is exactly why they put the yarmulke on in the first place. But either you don't get it, or you don't want to get it, or you don't want anyone else to get it. You know, you somehow want to exonerate the actual architects, the actual funders, promoters, arms providers, financiers, policymakers, and so on, who are in fact responsible for Zionism, who are responsible for the occupation, who are responsible for the genocide. It's absolutely laughable to me. Like, you're strangling me, but you put a sock puppet on your hand. And you want me to actually believe that you're not the one strangling me, it's the sock puppet. This is an insult to my intelligence. Of course, I already know I get a bunch of comments of people saying that America is the puppet of the Zionists and not the other way around, because the Jewish lobby, which is not even in the top 20 highest spending lobbies in America, you think that controls the politicians. This is a bad joke. As if America has to be forced at gunpoint or under threat of Epstein blackmail to support occupation and genocide. The country literally founded on genocide. The country that wiped out the Native Americans, massacred Mexicans, massacred Filipinos, occupied Afghanistan for 20 years, still has occupation forces in Iraq, occupied and colonized Hawaii and Puerto Rico, you know, supports Paul Kagame, who's implicated in...
With the help of the EU and NATO. All of those occupations, that swore was assisted by, all right, these countries that are a part of these alliances. Meanwhile, they get no smoke. Nobody's talking about this. This isn't dangerous.
The events that led to the genocide in Rwanda, and through him they support M23, which massacres the people in DRC. What are you talking about? America killed directly or indirectly 10 million civilians in my lifetime, in Central America, South America, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, and so on. Now you pretend like they have to be forced against their will, against their character, to support the occupation of Palestine and the genocide in Gaza. This is their character. That yarmulke is only on there for plausible deniability. You'll say, oh yeah, but the Jews impose apartheid and segregation and unequal rights. Or you mean like every Western colonial project ever? And look, Jewish. What Jewish? 65 to 70% of all so-called Jews in Israel are atheists. I mean, half of all so-called Jews on earth don't believe in God. So if you go by religious definition, that means maybe 2.5 million Israelis are even Jewish by religion. 2.5 million out of 7.2 million. What Jewish? And ethnically, about 45% of Israeli so-called Jews are Ashkenazi, which means that they're from European heritage, not Semitic. That's around 3.8 million out of 7.
And the Europeans are Shemitic. The so-called white race is Shemitic. But they come from Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. And again, you know, these individuals, when someone is of the opinion this man is AI, you know, there's not too much information on him. He always has the same outfit on. All right, but who knows? This is a crazy world. But either way it goes, he says good things, but they don't have the overall truth, man. You have to come to the prophets to get the overall truth. But as you can see, the again, what does it say in the book of Job? Okay, the heaven, let's read it in the NLT. It says, the heavens will reveal their guilt, and the earth will testify against them. Okay, let's get James, the 5th chapter. James 5:1. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, your garments are moth-eaten. Your whole, how you got everything, everything you own, it's all corrupted. As the scriptures say, there will be a shameful spewing, okay, on this devil. Habakkuk 2:16, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. We just read that Esau will be made bare. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory. And thy glory is the again, because the Lord gave this man power to do all this. But he's also going to judge him for it. Revelation 13:7, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. You see that? And again, he did it by the sword. He made war, okay, because he was blessed with the sword. He would have the fatness of the earth. He would control the earth by means of the sword. Was not that Esau's blessing? Let's get it. Okay, Genesis 27 and 39. This was the blessing of Esau. Isaac said to Esau, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, meaning at one point you're going to control the earth and the dew of heaven from above, all of the resources, everything will be under your control through your policy. You would have a great rulership, and by thy sword shall thy live. Let's look at this word sword. Okay. Charab, sword, knife, tools for cutting stone. Okay, and what is a tool? Okay, and what is the modern day sword, man? All right, you have the gun. All right, and you have nuclear weapons to lay waste. Right? The weapons lay waste. To attack. Flight. Do not missiles flight? Don't they fly? To make desolate. Does not the scripture say Babylon is going to be a desolation? Okay, so this is speaking of his military might. Okay, which the Greeks had a powerful military. The Romans had an even more powerful military. Well, now the sword has been perfected through this beast system. See that? And it says, by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And that happened under David, and it's going to happen in the kingdom. You see? So this devil was blessed with this capability to do all of this evil. But again, it's going to be called out. The scriptures say, who shall stand for me against the evildoers?
7.2 million. So if you subtract the non-Semitic, non-religious from the so-called Jews of Israel, you're only going to be left with something like 1.2 to 1.4 million actual Jews in Israel. Actual Jews means Semites who believe in and follow Judaism. 1.2 out of 7.2 million.
And you have a small amount of the true children of Israel over there. But the bulk of the Israelites are over here in the northwestern hemisphere, mainly here in Babylon the Great, America, where there will be a great awakening. See, the rights back to that land comes through a great awakening. Okay? Ezekiel the 37th chapter foreshadows that. It foretells that, where the valley of dry bones, the Israelites who would be in a dead estate, with through the prophets going out, which Ezekiel symbolizes the prophets, and prophesying, and those bones living. Okay, and pretty much this chapter tells you that it will be a 12-tribe sign, that preachers will go out preaching. Okay, but this would lead to a reunion of Judah and Israel. Okay, but the point is that he's going to put his spirit in them, and they shall live and be placed in their own land. Okay? Verse 21, and say unto them, thus said the Lord, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and I will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation. So again, it wouldn't be just one, Jew. There would be all 12 tribes. And the goal of going back to that land is to establish the throne of David. So what is this?
Yeah, that means literally 6 million white European atheists occupying Palestine and committing genocide. So do you see why this is nothing but white supremacy and Western colonization? Don't be a fool. They just want to label it Jewish so that when the time comes, they can disassociate themselves from it and put it all on the so-called Jews. That little black cap, that yarmulke, is just marking who's going to take the fall. And believe me, when the time comes, you're going to see them swipe that cap off so fast it'll make your head spin. Or you'll probably see Ben Shapiro move to Utah and become a Mormon. Most so-called Jews today in the world don't believe in God. And like 80% of the global so-called Jewish population is not from Bani Israel. So as far as any Muslim is concerned, these people are not Jews. They're not Ahl al-Kitab. They're just European kuffar who believe in Western colonization, Western colonialism, and white supremacy, period.
That's what it's all about. Okay, and as the scriptures say, the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment, man. Okay, the truth is being declared. Let's get that. And 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter. Second Esdras 6:27. For evil shall be put out, deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared. So deceit is being put out, man. It's time out for the Edomite. All of his lies, he's no longer, prophecy isn't matching up for this guy. So he's getting ready to lose it. Okay, he's being called out and he's trying to hide it. He's trying to hide the reality of what's happening through all of these side missions. But if you stay on his neck like we do through the Spirit, man, you see that this man he's being exposed. He's getting ready to fall. He's tacky. He's through. Okay, verse 5, James 5:5. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just. Therefore, he does not resist. So the Lord is getting ready to judge this man. Okay, you see, it's getting ready to be a pink moon. Okay, all kind of moons are popping up. Let's go back here. And here's a video the elder,
You're Illuminati. They call themselves the Illuminated one.
The elder Malcolm did. Okay, the 48ers looking foolish trying to maintain their fraudulent claim. And he goes in this video. You know, and I just wanted to bring some of these points out because, again, you know, here they're boasting and building the third temple. Ain't nobody saying nothing. Okay? Purifying a red heifer.
Shalom, and welcome back to another class of weekly Torah Talks, where we share timely Torah messages relevant both to the Jerusalem Holy Temple and to your lives. I'm your host, Shlomo, and today we have a very important topic.
This is the Jew.
This week's Torah portion is Parshat Vayakel, the Torah portion which speaks about the building of the tabernacle, the Mishkan. We also will read the third of the so-called Arba Parshiot, that is, an approximately 4-week period when, in addition to the regular Torah reading, a second Torah scroll is brought to read one of 4 special Torah portions relating to the current Hebrew months of Adar and of Nisan.
This nigga read and get out of here, man.
All world leaders, all politicians must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed, severe, tough, real laws that will put these hate mongers away in prison for a long time.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 17 and verse 14, and it reads, And the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Washai, said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial.
I just clicked this. The walls are closing in on the Edomites. They are wounded and grieved. War is the only solution. GMS all precepts.
On the book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Messiah. For he said, because the Lord...
Showing you Moses knew the name Yahweh. He built the temple. He built the altar. All right, to remember what the Lord. The Lord said, once we get the land, Amalek got to be put out of the earth, and it hasn't happened, but it's gonna happen under the tabernacle of David. But see, Netanyahu is using this to say, well, we can get these Palestinians out of the land.
Lord Yahweh have sworn that the Lord Yahweh Shemel Washai will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring in the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth.
Yep, on the Jewish Encyclopedia. Esau, Edom is modern Jewry. They are not of Israel or Judah. See that?
Truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rekakudash. And the walls are closing in on these devils, all right? He's grieved. These devils are grieved and wounded, okay? And we're at that point now that anybody that questions these people, that speaks out against these people, okay, they're going to be persecuted. And I just kind of wanted to follow up on the lesson that I did the other day, going into the fact that the 1948ers, the small hats, are going to be the ones that's going to be fully behind the famine of the word as we see it in the name or under the banner of anti-you-know-what. Okay, so it's all spiritual. As these devils are preparing to war against the world is actually preparing to go to war against these people. All right, so it's all spiritual because what we're witnessing is what? The end of the end of the rule of the biblical Edomite. All right, Jeremiah 49:10 said what? That Esau could no longer hide himself. All right, and as you heard from this devil right here, all right, what did he say? They're fighting for, stricter laws. All right, let's play that part again.
Must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed. Severe, tough, real laws.
So severe, tough, that Esau's time is done for.
Wait a minute.
Right?
Salakia.
Back in Wisdom of Solomon 2:14, he are told.
Yo, man. Yo, watch that video. You could check that out, man. We in some beautiful times, man. Okay, Iran has just threatened a preemptive strike on U.S. base following Trump's bomb threat. So we're here, man. Okay, we're here. And again, they're getting ready to come down with great wrath. Okay, because they're being exposed. He knows he has but a short time. So I just wanted to get into a few of those things. See if there was even any more. This was another one.
The ceasefire in the Gaza Strip has now broken down. The Israelis never wanted it to proceed to the second stage. Israeli foreign policy, in large measure, consists of one thing: what can we get away with? It's rather comparable to, we all live in a street, and in one house in the street there is this completely psychopathic family who are always smashing your windows, beating your children up, stealing your goods and so on, and if you call the police, they beat you up. Now we have this, it's complicated narrative in the West. If you listen to Israelis themselves, that's Israeli journalists, pundits, politicians, members of the public, and above all, soldiers, they don't think it's complicated. It's very clearly about ethnic cleansing, and the rhetoric of those who hold power in Israel has been absolutely clear about this right from the beginning. When people show you who they are, believe them. What's happened in Gaza isn't complicated. It's genocide. It is the greatest crime of the 21st century, and it would not have been possible without the complicity and indeed active assistance of Western politicians and of the Western media. Apartheid is not an issue. It's not on the one hand this, on the other hand that. It's a crime. Ethnic cleansing is not an issue. It's a crime. And above all, genocide is not an issue. It's a crime. But as long as the bulk of Western media is reporting the whole thing as it's complicated, on the one hand this, on the other hand that, then the Israelis are getting away with it. The most extreme right-wing, Greater Israel expansionist elements in Israel are now clearly emboldened. You have this profoundly unstable apartheid state, and it would appear now expansionist country which has nuclear weapons. I mean, it's hard to overstate how dangerous this is, and yet we just apparently prepared to carry on taking it as given that it is Israel that is our ally. In the West, politicians simply don't understand that we have moved into another era now where Western claims of moral legitimacy, in as much as they were ever worth much and ever taken seriously, have now gone forever. The West has no moral legitimacy at all, because although for some reason Western politicians and journalists are able to watch 20,000 children being slaughtered in the Gaza Strip, in the global South, people seem to have a much stronger sense that these were human beings that have been killed. And the West's moral legitimacy, its ability to invoke the rule of law, to invoke human rights, has been destroyed for decades. Most people in Britain have watched...
So there you go. You could check this one out too. I think I'm going to have to subscribe to them. Hey, man. Job 20:5. That the triumphing of the wicked is short and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Shalom.